Hello my friends, welcome to my country farmhouse quilting and sewing studio. I'm Marnay, as most of you know. It is February and we are on the most romantic time of the year coming up next week. So I thought maybe I would share a little project with you that I have come across from a subscriber who has sent me a bunch of quilting magazines. So this magazine here is from March of 2012. So when this person sends me all of these quilting magazines, believe it or not, I look through every one of them and I put all of these little tabs on it to anything that I like that I see that might be worth creating. So since we are on the most romantic time of the year in February, I didn't want to make this all about Valentine's, but maybe about love or romance, or it doesn't really have to be about Valentine's, this project here. So what I found in this magazine is called Sealed with a Kiss, and it is some placemats, and these are really super simple directions, and I thought these would be great to maybe put on your table because you can sew them up quickly. I mean, I sewed up one last night and finished it, and I'm not a copycatter, but I kind of took some fabrics out of the book and made one of these cute little placemats, and I have an idea for making it not so Valentine-y. So what these placemats are good for. I know a lot of people go out for dinner for Valentine's, and usually Jim and I do too, but it is so busy and so hectic, and I really don't feel like it is a great romantic time when you're going into a restaurant and it's so crowded, and I feel like the staff is rushed and stuff. So I'm thinking about having my romantic dinner at home. And I thought these little placemats would be great to, put my my dinner, when you put your plate on the table and you can light some candles, and you gotta have some chocolate afterwards. I like dark chocolate, so I mean anything chocolate, but I'm a dark chocolate fan. But I thought this would be great to have a home-cooked meal with no frills, no fanciness, just some candles and a pretty placemat and a good home-cooked meal and a fabulous dessert. And if you don't have a significant other, or you don't want to celebrate Valentine's Day or the most celebrated romantic day of the year, grab your best friend or your mom or your sister, I don't know, somebody that you love, and make a great meal and have a really nice time for the most loved day of the year, where everybody expresses their love and, their significant other or somebody that you love in your life. So anyway, so I made this placemat, and the heart is appliqued. It has a little lace applique behind the heart, and the envelope is really some rectangles and some squares. And I did a border around it, and I also binded it in the matching color of the border. On the back, I kind of carried the front to the back, and I quilted this on my Juki. So this is the thing of this is, mine is not perfect. I am still learning a lot of things, and I really wanted to learn how to quilt on my sewing machine, but I really just did some lines and stitched in the ditch. This doesn't need to be fancy because it's one day out of the year, and I'm gonna put my plate on it. I just want something cute and whimsical, and I could really see this on my farmhouse table, and I just think it's shabby chic. So anyway, so I've got some fabric here all cut up for another one. I wanted to make two of the same ones, but after I made this one, I kind of got a light bulb, because everything is red and white and pink, and I know a lot of people, one day out of the year, they don't want all this Valentine stuff. So I thought maybe of doing it in a different color. So I'm thinking more black and white. So doing the top of my envelope, it may be some black and white plaid, and the bottom part of my envelope, maybe doing it in this newspaper. It's like a flowery newspaper, rose and bloom kind of print. I just thought that would be really cool for the envelope. And then for the border and the binding, I have this black with this gray in it, and it almost reminds me of like a Baroque pattern, which is really cool. And also, these are the borders, that's the binding. and the inside heart would be the black, and then the lace in the background of the heart would be in a gray. So this might be a really cool thing. So I thought I would bring you all on and show you how to make this simple placemat that you can make within a few hours, really. The longest part of a project is the prep work. So I've already did the prep work for this project. And if any of you want to know this magazine, or if you want to look it up, it's a 23rd anniversary issue. It's called the Quilter Magazine, and it's the February-March 2012 issue. And that's the cover. So the design of this placemat is called Sealed with a Kiss, and it is by Pearl Louise Crush. So very simple pattern. I don't know, I just thought maybe this would be a fun one to share out of an old magazine, because gosh, 2012 doesn't seem like it was that long ago, but it's just crazy how time flies. But I really love the simpleness of this. I thought it was really cool, and you can make it however you want, because I was already thinking when I saw it, you know, that would be cool in a different color, not so Valentine-y, you know, or something. If you just want to have something out for all year round, you can make it in your own colors. But I thought the black and white would really make it cool. So the first thing I did, there's a template in there for the hearts and for the little lace background. And on the little lace background, I put the top, because the heart, let me show you in the pattern, or in the placemat here, the heart is gonna fit right into the cleavage of that heart top. So it'll all fit nicely, like it's a little piece of lace all the way around it. So I marked the top of that from the pattern in the book. So like I said, if you find it, I don't know. If you're feeling creative like I do, you could always draw your own heart and make your own little lacy design, maybe with some little frills or lace, something that you have. Be creative, because I'm always trying to think outside of the box when I create. But I just like this pattern so much that I thought I would, you know, share it with all of you and really make something fun. So I got this. So I got two pieces of everything, just like I did the red placemat. I only have one, but I'm going to take you through and show you how to make one of the black and white placemats as well, and I will finish them up. And I might put these on my table, you know, just for something. Maybe all of them, leave them on there for a while, because it really doesn't feel Valentine-y, and I like the offset of like the red and the black. I don't know, I just think it would be cool. But you know, you do you. So the directions here, I've got, and I probably should move you down so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So I'm just gonna move you down here to my little table, and you get the idea of what I've got going on. So I'm gonna take one of these white squares. Actually, I need two. So we're gonna have two like this. And these measure 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.5 by 8.5 is what these pieces here are. So if you want to follow along. And then I have the two plaid squares that are going to be for the top of my envelope. These are 8.5 inches square. So really what we're going to do is we're going to lay this on top, right at the top, and we're going to line up all of the edges. And I'm going to draw a line from this corner to this corner, and we're going to sew diagonally, and then we're going to cut this top part off after we sew it diagonally, and then this part will flip forward and we will press it, and that will be one side of the envelope. Same way with this side. We're going to lay this one at the very top, and we are going to sew this one diagonally the opposite way. So from right to left, this one from left to right. So corner to corner, this one corner to corner. And then we will cut this back part off, and then this part will get flipped forward, and we will sew these two pieces together, and you can see how this becomes our envelope. And then I have some borders here. These will go on the sides. They seem awfully long. I'm hoping I cut them right. And this one will go across the bottom. just like this, and I'll frame them out. And then of course I will make the heart in this color and the lacy part in the gray. So you kind of get the visual, hopefully, of what I'm doing here, which I think this will be really pretty. So I'm just gonna kind of lay the rest of these pieces out so you can kind of see what this is gonna look like. I think I left this one too. I must have cut that one wrong. Yeah, because this one's the right size here. It should be 10.5, and I think I cut that one like 11.5 instead of 10.5. So anyway, this is how it's gonna look. So first thing I'm gonna do is I have already got my hearts and my lace pieces drawn out. So I'm going to adhere them to my 2 pieces here. Actually, I've got 4, so I hope I don't confuse you. I've got extra pieces here because I'm gonna make 2 placemats. So what I want to do is cut off one of these hearts and one of these lace, and you can see I've already got them drawn. And what I have here is Heat and Bond Light, and you can get this at most craft stores, quilt shops. Walmart used to carry it, but my Walmart doesn't carry it now. So, but it is paper on one side, and I can put this on a template and draw it out. And then it has this rough side, and this is your glue side. So when I iron this onto my fabric, which you iron it on the wrong side of your fabric, it will adhere onto the fabric, and then I take my scissors and I cut it out, peel the paper off, and then it'll make this glueable so I can stick it down onto my envelope. So I'm gonna get that done first, and then we'll get on to making the envelope. So what I'm gonna do here, I'm gonna use my rotary cutter because I'm just gonna kind of cut these out. And I wouldn't recommend you do what I do. I don't want anybody to get cut. So I want to just kind of rough cut these out. I didn't get that really good. Normally I would have cut these out with the scissors, but I'm just trying to be quick here so I don't take up too much time. So the lacy part is going to go on the back of my gray fabric, and then my black fabric, the heart is going to go on the back of that. So I'm going to iron these down and I will cut them out. I'm not going to do this on the camera because I think it takes too long, but I will show you after I get them adhered. And these here, let's draw a line real quick on these. And you can see how fast these will really go together. It's really straight stitching, and like I said, it's 8.5 wide, 10.5 tall for my newspaper print, and then my plaid fabric is 8.5 square. Very simple. So I need a ruler. Where did I put my stuff? I thought I was prepared. Okay, over here. Okay, so I have a ruler here, and I'm going to mark this one first, and I'm going to get it from corner to corner. And I'm going to use my weights to kind of help hold my little ruler here. And I have some marking chalk. I'm just going to use this to kind of draw my line. So I have a nice little line. I don't know if you can see that on the camera. It's very vague. There's a nice little white line. And then this one here, I'm going to do it the opposite way. And I'm going to get it from corner to corner. And I use my little chalk marker here. These things are great. You can get them on Amazon, and they're triangular and they make a really nice line. I have a red disappearing ink pen, but I didn't think the red would show on this. So these little chalk markers come in great. I also have one in here in red, so they come in different colors. They're really great. Okay, so I am going to stitch these on the line, and then they're going to go up like this. So I'm going to stitch these together real quick, and I am going to adhere my heat and bond with my hot iron. I'm going to cut them out, and then I will show you how these are going to go together for this cute little placemat. So stay with me. Okay, I have stitched up my pieces here, and I have already cut them 1/4 inch away from my sew line. So these pieces here, I'm just gonna save these and set them aside. These would be great if you wanted to sew these together in like half square triangles for an orphan block or something. I don't waste anything, so I'm gonna save those. The heart pieces, I've cut them out. See, I've got my little pieces here, and this is how it's gonna look. There are 2 separate pieces here. But as I told you, I did right on the back of the lace part for the top, because the cleavage in the heart is going to line up at the very top with this one, the background lace, and the little heart point will fall here at the bottom, right between these 2 bottom scallops. So very important when you get ready to place these together and how they go. But they're just real simple to cut out, and that's how she's gonna look. So now I can flip these forward just like this, and this is how my envelope is gonna look. So right now what I want to do is I want to put these together, and I'm gonna sew it right down the middle. I got it sewed together. It's coming together. I pressed my seam allowance open just because I want this to lay nice and flat, and I've got fuzzies on it. So now comes the fun part, is placing my heart. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna take the lace part, which is the back, and I'm gonna peel the paper off, just like this. And you can kind of see I've got this shiny side, that is my glue. And when I press this with my iron, it is going to adhere it to my envelope. So what I want this little cleavage seam, or this little cleavage cut here in the middle of my seam of my plaid, and I want this little spot here in between those 2 arcs to be in the middle too, and that way I'll know I'll have it nice and straight. Thing about plaid, it a little bit annoys me, is that it doesn't, and if you're a matcher that you can match up your plaid, great, that's great. But to me, this is just for fun. My plaid, I don't think it's perfect, but I think it's close enough, and once it's all together, it's gonna look great, and I'm not gonna overthink it. So I'm an amateur, and I'm sure a lot of you are too, so don't take things so seriously. This is a fun project, and it doesn't need to be, you know, oh my gosh, you know, there's no quilting police. And sometimes I overthink things that I, you know, put together that I would like it to be better, but then I'm thinking, oh my gosh, I'm just enjoying what I'm doing, and it's gonna look nice no matter what. So I've got threads everywhere. I hate threads. They get on everything. I love this heart. I love this black fabric, as you can kind of see. I don't know, it's kind of got that gray design in it, and it looks so Baroque. I just love it. So this is gonna go right on top, and I'm gonna kind of line the edges of the top of my heart where these little curves are to the little dips in the curvature of my little lace background. And I want to make sure that my point is lining up right here at my seam, and those little arches of my heart will meet right at the top of my little lace pieces there. So I think that looks good. So I'm going to adhere this with my hot iron, so this will all lay down nice. I will have to stitch this down to keep it in place, and I will probably do this on my Bernina sewing machine, because I want to use some black thread to go around my heart and maybe some gray thread to go around my lace. I might use black. I don't know. I mean, because I like the lines of black when I stitch things, because it looks like it's drawn and it gives it that, I don't know, it gives it that drawed look. I don't know what it is about it. I just like the unperfectness about things. So I think that would be really cool. So I'm gonna adhere this down, and then we're gonna get ready to put on these borders. And you can see these are 1.5 inch strips by 10.5 inch tall for my two sides. And these will go on first. And then I have a 1.5 inch strip by, I think, let's see, how long was this? I can give you the measurements on those. They were 10.5, 8.5 by 10.5, and these long ones, I could measure them. I think they are 18.5. So 18.5 inch strips for across the top and bottom, and 10.5 inch tall on the side. So they're 1.5 inch borders. And then I have some 2.5 inch strips cut in the matching binding. So this will make my binding when I'm ready to bind it. So what I think I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna adhere this heart down, and I'm gonna set up my Bernina for some black thread and stitch that down. And I'm also gonna put these borders on, and then I'll get back with you. All right, I have my heart quilted down, and I have my little lace trim all quilted down. I quilted that in gray, and I did the heart in black. The borders are on. I've picked the backing, so now it's it is ready to quilt. Let's put it that way. So I'm loving this. I am loving this more than I like the red one. So tell me in the comments what you think of this one. So I am going to work on quilting this on my machine, probably similar to the one that I did in the pink. And we'll get back and I will take you through the binding process after I quilt this. So I'm just gonna quilt this on my machine and probably draw some lines, just keep it simple, but I really love it. It's beautiful. I have it quilted. I don't know if you can see. I drew some lines differently than my red placemat. I drew some lines in like a V shape going toward the seam. And then on the white part here, I just did some echoing with my presser foot and just did like 5 stitches around. I just kind of left the inner triangles here kind of puffy. So if you can kind of compare this one. This one I made some lines across the top of the envelope, and then I made the lines going, you know, in the V shape on the bottom of this one. And then of course I did do a stitching all the way around the inside. The same way with the black one, I did do a stitching all the way around, and I don't know if you can see on the back some of the stitching here that shows, but this is the back side. I'm not really concerned. I just wanted it all to kind of match and flow. So what now, I just kept my quilting simple on this. I'm just gonna trim it up. I've got the binding all ready, and I'm gonna show you how to do that. Just remember, this is a simple placemat. This is my first time making a placemat, something like this, and you know, just kind of quilting it down on my sewing machine. I mean, I could have gotten fancy and put this on the long arm, you know, with a bunch of other stuff and quilted them all individually, but really this is just something fun that I want to play with and make it easy for everybody out there to be able to take something like this and be able to do it on your home machine. So it really doesn't have to be overthunk. It's just a simple pattern. So I'm going to put my ruler on here, and I'm just going to trim this up real quick, and I will show you how to put the binding on. And if you haven't bound before, you know, or you're afraid of binding, this is a great place to practice binding and how to put it on. And I've told a lot of people that if you want to learn how to bind, start with something small. It does take practice. I've had lots of practice. So this would be a good place to start. So I'm just gonna kind of line that up, make sure it's nice and straight. Put my weights on there because it gives me an extra hand to hold everything in place while I cut. And put them scraps aside. And then I'm gonna trim the long sides. It's real simple to try to make sure everything is kind of lined up and straight. Some things can kind of get askew, especially with binding, you know, fabric stretches and everything. So when I put you can see I made the back and the batting bigger than my placemat. You want that to be bigger so you have a little room, because if you made it the same size as your top, it's gonna shift when you're quilting it and it's gonna look all wonky. So when you do put a back on something and you wanna quilt it, always make your back bigger than your top, and same way with your batting. It's the same way with the quilting. When we quilt on the quilter, you have to have your backing bigger than your top because everything gets stretched. It's gonna be quilted, even though I'm not stretching this. Sometimes when you run stuff through the machine, fabric shifts. It shifts around, it can move, and I put all kinds of safety pins. I had like safety pins when I quilted this down, so I could kind of keep everything in place. I didn't want my back to get flipped over, you know. I've had that happen in the past when I was learning and trying to teach myself. So I've learned a lot of little things about, you know, trying to make things as nice as I can get them. And you do, when you're making something, you want it to look nice. You don't want it to look like, you know, unless you're new and you're practicing or something, you know. But, you know, when you're making something, you want to be proud of it. So you can see that's just a little bit over, but I think that fabric should come up. But my binding is going to cover this up, so pull it in the rotary cutter. I love it. I absolutely love it. I think it's very pretty. I love the black and white. It would go with anything, and it actually looks really nice with the red one. So I'm thinking when I make the other two, the other red one and the other black one, I might put all four of them on my table, just because I really like the contrast and it's not so Valentine-y. Although you can make yours all one color, it's up to you, but this is just how I think. So I'm gonna teach you how to put the binding on. Now this fabric here, this black that I've been using, this was a leftover. I think somebody may have sent this to me, or it may have been given to me, I can't really remember. But I think at one time it was a 108, and so it was a very large piece. Tilly's playing with this toy. So how I'm gonna do this is I'm going to take my binding, and then if you haven't binded before, this is a good way to learn. I need some clips. Let me grab those. So I make it kind of extend over the halfway mark because you'll see. And then I'm gonna start clipping down. So when I start, I'm gonna put 2 clips where I start, and after I get it all the way around, I'm gonna put 2 clips where I want it to finish. That way I know when I'm sewing, I don't get carried away. So I'm gonna start over here, and of course we're gonna come to a corner. I'm gonna kind of straighten this out. And this is where we wanna make a right angle. Let's see, I have to have this facing the right way. So if I have it this way toward me, yeah, I'm gonna bring it this way. So I'm gonna bring up this top piece like a 90 degree, and it's almost gonna make, I don't know how to explain this, and this is what I tell everybody when I'm trying to teach them my way of binding. When I fold this up, I want this piece that I'm folding up to be straight up and down. I want the corner to meet at the top of this corner, and I want it to be nice and straight. So it almost looks like a half square triangle when you fold that up, so that the corner comes up here to the edge of your corner here, and this is nice and straight, and this is perfectly 90 degrees. And then I'm just gonna bring it back over itself, just like that. And you'll have this little bit of excess here in the corner, so that's just gonna lay right down. That is what's gonna make our mitered corner. And I'm just gonna kind of clip that in place. And I want my edges, everything to be perfect. You want it to be straight across here, not excess over the edge, and the sides to perfectly line up. Very important to get a nice squared corner. You know, and you can practice and play with it a little bit as, you know, as you're trying to finagle it. And I like to clip my binding all the way around so I kind of know what I'm dealing with and what I have, because I know I've got extra here and I can cut off that extra. But so, like I said, this was a very long piece, so I just cut out one piece. Okay, so now this makes sense to me. So I got this at the top, and I'm gonna bring that up, straight up, so that my edge of my fabric meets in the corner. And it's not overhung, so I just kind of want to bring it over just slightly, just so everything meets. And then I'm going to bring it back down over top of itself, and it looks very nice and even across the top here, across the top and along the sides. Raw edges to raw edges, very important. Your fold is on the inside, your raw edges are to your raw edges. So you want to make sure you're putting that on wrong. This is a 2.5 inch binding strip. I cut it at 2.5, and then I pressed it in half. So you want your raw edges of your binding to the raw edges of your placemat. So I don't know if I explained that soon enough, so bear with me. I don't know if I'm the best teacher, but I'm trying to, this is just how I do it, and trying to explain myself. I guess I'm not always perfect, you know, explaining what I do, but I can show you what I'm doing, so. And I'll put one more here. So hopefully you can kind of see everything. I should, yeah. So try to keep everything into view. And then we're gonna do this again, the 90 degree. I'm gonna bring it straight up. And I know I have all this excess, so I'm just gonna bring that straight up so that it's, my fold line here is straight up, and the corner, this corner meets to this corner. It looks, you know, like you got that 90 degree line there. And bring it back over itself, and making sure everything is lined up so there's no overhang. You want everything to look good. So it's nice and even here and even along the raw edge side. And then I'm just gonna put a clip in it. Just like that. I'm going to put this the rest of the way down. And I have one more here. And that's not very even because I can see the back. So I want that all to line up nice and even. And I got one more corner here. I'm gonna do one more time, make sure that lays down. And 90 degrees. I want my corner to meet in that corner, so I just kind of want to, and I like to finger press it. So everything, so it just lays down nice, and I can finger press it, and then I'm going to bring it back over itself, and I will clip that down right there. Now you can see I'm back to this overhang, and I'm just going to overlap it, and I'm not going to worry about this right now. I just want to put some double clips, probably right about here, because I want enough space in between to make my join. And you'll see why when we get to that part. So I've got double clips where I'm going to stop. So I'm going to start here, and then I'm going to come all the way almost down to this little flappy piece here, but I'm going to stop at 1/4 inch away from my corner. And then I'm going to cut my thread, and I'm going to turn my placemat to the side, and then I'm going to start at the very top of where this little flap over is, and then I'm going to sew it all the way down again until I get to 1/4 inch of this end. You know, don't go too far because you need that little extra space. And then I'm going to stop, back stitch, cut my thread, and then turn it again and start all the way down this side and do the same with this corner. So I'm going to get my Bernina set up, and I've already got some black thread on there, and I will show you how we're going to stitch this down. I'm going to cut this little piece of excess right here. I don't need all of this hanging on there. I just like it a little bit longer on each end. And I'm just going to kind of fold that up and put it in the middle, because that, after I get this sewed down, then we're going to make the join, which I don't want to get too far ahead of myself. So I'm gonna take you over to my Bernina and I'm gonna show you how I stitch this down and how I get to the corners. And we're in the home stretch of finishing this cute little placemat. Okay, technical difficulties. I am going to sew this down on my Bernina because this has a white thread, and I also have Juki. Oh my God, what's wrong with me? I can't talk.
What's the matter, honey? You get all flubber-brained here?
Yes, I am. So,
what are you doing?
putting binding on, and I'm going to start where my double clips are, as I've explained earlier. And I have this foot on here that has this stopper. So this helps me to line this up and go very quickly.
What's that foot called?
It's called a 1/4 inch foot. I call it my 1/4 inch binding foot. So it has like this little lip on it, and it's exactly a 1/4 inch. So it makes it very easy. So those of you that have the Juki, you would know what this is and how it helps.
No, it doesn't come with the Juki.
It doesn't come with it. Okay, we bought this as an extra.
That's an accessory for the Juki.
Yeah. Well, some people that have Jukis might know what it's for, if they have one or if they bought one.
It makes, let me get down here.
We bought this as an extra accessory because this is very beneficial to me.
It makes binding a lot easier because it keeps you a true 1/4 inch in.
Yes, and everything comes nice and straight with this, so I can just butt my fabric up along that little stopper, and I can get going.
Come on, Toast.
Do a little back stitch. And then I'm gonna come up where I've got this little bulk of fabric here in the corner, which I explained, and I'm going to stop it at a 1/4 inch away from the end, or maybe more like, yeah, pretty close. And then I'm gonna do a little back stitch, and I'm gonna cut. I got my little Tilly here, and he's always got to be a pesterer when I'm trying to do something. So I just want to get this done so you can see how it's going to look. So I'm starting, you know, I've got that fold, and I folded down just like how I clipped it. I start sewing, back stitch, and now I'm just going to go all the way down. And this makes it really fast and easy. And I'm going to get down to this little corner here where I've got the little bulk of my fold, and I'm going to stop it at a 1/4 inch. Back stitch, cut, and start again. And I've got it kind of finger pressed so it has that little fold there, and then I'm going to start at the very top, get it started, back stitch, coming down to this corner. So it's about 1/4 inch, back stitch, cut. And I'm going to make sure everything's lined up and get that laid nice and flat. Everything lines up nice and even. Start at the top, back stitch. Goes very fast and easy when you have the right tools and some helpful products like this. This little foot that I have for this makes it really easy. So, and sometimes when I'm sewing this down, it might stretch, so I might get a little excess, so you might have to make a little adjustments. So I'm just gonna kind of fix this because I don't want the top to come off. Oh, and I started to sew before I had the wrong foot on. So just kind of make sure that everything lines up there. Start at the top. Stitch. And I'm about to my double clips. So I'm going to stop there because we need that little space in between. So Now I guess you can kind of see that I have the white stitching, so you can kind of see where I've stitched it all the way around. That's going to be hidden, so you're not even going to see it. And of course, when it comes on the other side, my binding will come over and cover that white stitching that's on the other side. So now we want to get to the join, and I'm going to remove all of my clips. And I know I've showed this in a past video with the tilde quilts, I think, when I was showing you how to make the join. Uh-oh, I sewed that in there.
What did you do, honey?
No, I just got one stitch in there because I didn't have this folded in half. So I just, you know, I'm right here at the end and I'm trying to get this, you know, so we can see how we do this, because it is very simple. But I always hit some kind of a little snag here or there, so we're just gonna...
Well, that's real life.
Yes, this is real life. So I've got my end.
Think about the way we do stuff here.
I kind of had it tucked in, so I just got to pull that out there. I just had to pull it out. This is all extra here, you know, and I said we had them extra long, so I should bring you back over to the table and I'll show you how to join this. So let me move you back up to the table. All right, better view here. Okay, so now we have these two pieces and we need to make the join. So I know that these are too long, so I'm gonna have to trim them down. So I'm just gonna kind of guesstimate where I want this one trimmed, because I'm gonna have this overlap. So I'm just gonna make a nice little tail right here in the middle, just enough to open it up. So I'm just gonna kind of make a crease line with my fingers, and I'm gonna just snip that little piece off. I always like to have extra when I get to the end, because you need big pieces to overlap. So on this piece here, I'm going to measure it 2.5 inches in. Let's get that one out of the way. And I'm gonna measure this 2.5 inches, but I'm gonna leave it like 1/8 less because I want it to fit nice and tight. And then I'm going to make a little line here and I'm gonna mark it. So I got a little white mark right there. And then this piece here, I'm gonna bring it over to where it meets that little white line. I'm gonna fold it because that's where I'm gonna wanna cut it. So I want this piece here to overlap this one 2.5 inches, or, you know, a little less than 2.5 inches. I like to fit tight, so I just made it a little less, because fabric does have a little stretch to it. And I'm just gonna make a crease line there so I know to cut it right there. Actually, some of my chalk rubbed off on it. There. Now this piece, when I overlap it, it comes just to that white line that I just drawed. So now we're ready to make the join. And I was told when you make the join, always do it at the top facing you. So I'm gonna take the left-hand side and I'm gonna open up to its full width with my line there. And then I'm gonna kind of I'm gonna fold this over and bring it together because I don't want it to come apart. Let me put my weight there so I can hold it. Then this piece here, I'm gonna open this one up with right sides together. I'm going to place it on here almost like a T, so that the edge of my fabric meets that white line. And of course I want everything lined up here at the corners. And then I'm going to make a little crease line because this is how I like to do it. And I'm going to make it fold over into like a 90-degree corner to corner, or my corner to the edge of the fabric. So it's a nice 90-degree. And if I can check this to make sure that I folded it the right way, I could turn this over and it'll make the join, because my fold crease here and this fold crease meets. So just to show you, I always do it, make my little fold over from the top right corner down to the left. And making it so I can see this, I'm going to also take my ruler here and kind of position it. And I'm gonna make a chalk line as well. So let me make sure that's on there nice and straight. Everything's even. And then from corner to corner, I'm gonna make a little press line. Get my extra hand here. I'm gonna make a chalk line so I can see it. So now I can see that that's where I want my join. So the edge of my fabric is on that little line that I drawed. These edges are all gonna line up at the top, the side, and I can see that little line that I drawed on the other side. And then, how about some pins? I'm going to kind of pin it in place so it doesn't move or shift when I go to sew this together, because I want it to be perfect so that everything lines up. Pin. I'll put a pin on this side. And then I'm going to take this to the sewing machine and I'm going to sew on that diagonal line. And after I sew it, I'm going to bring this together and make sure that it fits before I cut this back part off. So give me a second. I'm going to sew that together and I'll be right back. I have my little stitch line all sewed. So I'm going to take my pins out. And I'm going to open this up and I'm going to check it. And you can see this is nice and tight. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut this excess off, leaving a 1/4 inch past my little stitch line here. I'm just going to use the scissors. And cut the thread right there. There. And now what I want to do with that seam is I want to kind of... Tilly! He's got his chicken. So now I have made my join and it's nice and smooth. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the Juki and I'm going to finish sewing where I started and where I ended and sew this together, and we'll be ready to roll it over and stitch it down on the top. All right, we're ready to get this finished up. So I'm just taking the binding and bringing it over, and I machine bind. I know a lot of people out there hand sew, but really what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this binding from the back and roll it right over the front, and I want to fold it over just enough to cover up my white stitch line, which I know I'll have it rolled over enough, and then I will stitch this down in black thread. I'm not going to do it in white. And let's see if we can get to the corners as well. I'm going to get my clips here in front of me. I'm going to clip it a little bit and kind of show you how to get your mitered corner. So I'm going to start right here near the corner, and I'm just going to kind of clip everything down, and this will just kind of keep everything in place for me. And I want it to be just over the stitch line, and when I stitch this down I will stitch it very close to the edge so that everything is stitched, but it will be in black thread and you won't be able to see it. On the red one I used white thread. I was experimenting, so it's up to you what you use, but I'm going to keep this one simple with black thread. Let's start. I'm going to get to this corner. I actually had people in here sewing today, and I was showing this to my neighbor who comes and sews with me, and she showed me this exact same placemat that was on Facebook. So it must be, maybe some of you might have seen it there, but I know it was in this old magazine, and that's where I saw it. Let's see, we're coming to the corner here, Jim.
What?
And when you fold this when you start to the other side, your corner should meet in the corner here. So the edge of this corner fabric should meet up with the other corner. Thank you.
I'll be your left-hand man.
So, and that looks really nice. So I'm just folding this over far enough. And once I get this stitch, you'll be able to see it. I don't know if you'll be able to see it that well, but you want your corners to meet. The edges of the fabric should meet. And I know because this is black, it's kind of hard to see it. And I want those corners tucked in. And I got that corner folded over, and then you fold this corner over, and the fabrics should meet, which they do. And I struggled with that for a long time on some of my quilts, getting those corners to meet. I have to finagle it, and you get like something to poke the corner, and so sometimes it does take some finagling, sometimes it takes practice. This is a good place to start if you want to practice for binding, and we got loose thread there, we're going to trim that. So this would be a great thing to practice with, and learning how to do some binding and making a really fun project. Two more corners. Okay, so this one here, we gotta get that. That one doesn't want to quite line up for me, so I gotta make him finagle it. Should meet. Yeah, that meets. Another thing that might help, if you didn't want to clip, you could try pressing your binding over too. If you're a machine binder like I am, anything that makes life easier is nice.
Press it and starch it.
Yes.
That way it'll hold itself and...
Yeah. So this one should go this way, I think. And that looks like it meets. Yep, okay. So what I'm going to do, now I am going to go to the Bernina, and I'm going to stitch this down in black, and I'm not going to torture you watching me sew this. I'm just going to sew it very close to the edge, and then I will give you the final comparison when I get this done. Here we are. It's all done. All stitched down. I stitched it very close to the edge. Got a few threads hanging in here that I need to pick off. The back actually looks very nice, except for a few threads here that I need to trim. I think they're the threads that are coming out of the seam, but you can see some of the quilting that I've done on the back, but I think this turned out very nice for a first attempt at making a homemade placemat that's very simple and easy. I know in the magazine this is rated as a beginner project, very simple. I like the red as well. Practice makes progress. You can see some of the stitching on the binding around the red one, but it still looks very nice, and some of the quilting on the back. So these I think would be really great. You know, 2 red ones and 2 blacks. So kind of stay tuned for maybe a future sew and tell with where I have all 4 of them all done. But I think this is really a really nice project, really fun, really easy. So satisfying to make something that, you know, you can make with your hands. Just a really great and fun project. Like I said, practice makes progress. You'll get better as you go. It helps with binding, and just a simple, fast, and easy project. So thoughts, comments, let me know what you think. If you've seen this on Facebook, like I said, this was in a magazine that I found from 2012. Great project. For Valentine's Day, or maybe not for Valentine's Day, you know, but I like this. It's a very simplistic color, but I really like the black too. All right, so I hope I taught you a little something. I hope that I made it understandable that this is a really easy and fun thing to do. So I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you next time. Bye. Don't forget to like and subscribe.